The city bleeds in shades of gray, where neon shadows lose their spark. The truth is just the debt we pay. Step into the dark, for this is Sunny Noir.
So there are definitely people who considered that AI would help speed up and scale killing of the people perceived as America's enemies.
Developing story, you have Amazon Cloud Unit AWS on Sunday saying that the power to its data center in the United Arab Emirates was shut down temporarily after objects struck the facility, triggering sparks and a fire. The UAE is reeling from Iran's retaliatory missile.
By now, we know that Iran and US have been at constant war for quite some time. I don't want to bore you with the war details, but there are things happening in the front, and there are things happening in the background. I started to notice that Iran shifted their strategy from attacking randomly and started attacking critical buildings in various areas of the UAE, United Arab Emirates. Some of these were data centers powered by Oracle and Amazon Web Services. You see, US has a history of the classic false flag operations, quote unquote. They did this all the way back with Operation Northwoods in 1962 and all the way back up until 9/11.
Our financial systems are decades old. According to some estimates, we cannot track $2.3 trillion in transactions.
2.3 trillion casually vanished into thin air. Oh, I'm sure it went somewhere that he didn't want us to see. The Department of Defense wasn't just gathering data from data centers to only build an algorithm. These 3 data centers are important to the US, and Iran knows this. But what are they housing? The public doesn't know yet. But I put the pieces together and connected the dots, and I think I found something that might be really interesting to you. This is episode 3, Ghost Servers. And by the way, if this is your first time here, welcome. Make sure to check out episode 1 and 2 of this 5-episode series. This is Sunny Noir, and I make videos only for night owls, since I am one myself. Let's go. As I was making this video, I was thinking to myself, Sunny, you're not religious, but you can't ignore some of the blatant signs that occur every now and then that sort of prove the quote-unquote prophecy or God's word.
On this, Saint John of Damascus wrote that the Antichrist will appear as a man, will come in the flesh, will perform signs and wonders, and will deceive those who did not love the truth. The great deception is not darkness presenting itself as darkness, it is darkness presenting itself as light.
In March 2026, Iran finally got fed up and decided to go all out. Iranian Shahed drones conducted physical strikes on multiple Amazon Web Services data centers in the United Arab Emirates and Bahrain. This is the first time a country has deliberately used physical force also known as kinetic strikes, to target commercial data centers during wartime for a very specific purpose. Iran subsequently declared that major US technology companies, which include Google, Microsoft, Oracle, Meta, and Nvidia, are considered enemy technology infrastructure, signaling an expanded scope for potential future targeting. In simple terms, this means that they regard all of these major tech companies inside US as a physical threat for the future and might target them in the near future. Now let's zoom in a little further. We'll take a closer look at 3 distinct warehouses that I mentioned earlier. As I talk about these warehouses, see if you can spot any specific details or any specific information that might tie them all together. You see this warehouse? This was the first one that Iran chose. Following a major escalation in geopolitical tensions on February 28th, Iranian drones struck this specific AWS facility in their availability zone. That's right. My first question was also, why did Iran attack this specific warehouse in UAE? Well, by disabling essential infrastructure like banking systems and payment applications, this attack exposed the facility as the real backbone of their economy. Beyond its critical infrastructure hub, this specific warehouse was quietly harvesting a vast array of civilian information. To make things simpler, just understand that this facility was tracking basic civilian data, such as our movements, our spending, our social connections, and our digital footprint. Now, pay attention. This is where things start to get tricky. This is the second warehouse that was attempted by Iranian drones, but it was a bit of a misfire. Iranian drones completely missed attacking this specific Oracle data center because luckily Dubai intercepted these, and the drones never really damaged the facility except for a little bit of debris that fell onto the data center itself. This was a misfire. The first warehouse that Iran attacked with the drones was to disrupt civilian information that US was housing. The second attack on this specific Oracle warehouse would disrupt billions in investment from the West. Do you see how things are coming together slowly? It's very strategic. Oracle doesn't just serve as a data center anymore. It serves as a center for business intelligence, and Iran found that out long time ago. So if they can disrupt this specific warehouse, it can blind whatever US is building. This data center, located in Bahrain, completes the triangle. It gives us the big picture. The news reports that after this attack had happened, millions of people in Dubai and Abu Dhabi woke up on Monday unable to pay for a taxi, order food, check their bank balance, or even contact their friends. We're back in the same loop again. The news also reported on something else that I found interesting. It stated that the fiber optic cables that connect these data centers to the United States, these optic cables run directly through the Strait of Hormuz. No wonder they're fighting so much over there. So let's put it all together and see what it really means. The 3 data centers that burned, they weren't accidents. They were nodes, the physical brain of a system. By striking them, Iran wasn't just hitting a business, they were cutting the nerves of an artificial brain. Remember, they're not fighting a war against an army. They were trying to lobotomize the engine to a machine. And now comes in a key piece of detail. On June 1st, 2018, Google had officially stepped down as the main data provider for the Department of Defense.
And so they were trying to help the Department of Defense mark objects in this footage to say this car is a car, this building is a building, this is a person.
Okay, and the employees at Google had a problem with this for the past several weeks, but how did they protest it? What was their concern?
So there's a couple of different concerns within the employees. Some employees at Google feel like the company shouldn't be involved with the military at all. There are other employees that feel that using artificial intelligence in this context is particularly risky. They foresee a future where eventually you have a computer making the decision of whether or not to carry out a drone strike. And
We're backed up by Google first, but since Google stepped down, do you want to know who they're backed up by now? This man.
In teaching entrepreneurship or writing about entrepreneurship, there's a big challenge in it because I think there is no single formula. As you could tell from the last few speakers, it's always a very, very different story. And I think every moment in the history of business, every moment in the history of technology happens only once. The next Mark Zuckerberg will not be building a social networking site. The next Larry Page will not be building a search engine. The next Bill Gates will not be building.
Inside those server racks, the cloud was ingesting the globe, fusing spy satellites and phone pings into a living map. It was isolating targets. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, those 3 warehouses were holding data to feed into an AI targeting machine called
I mean, 4 female Ghostbusters? The feminists are taking over. I'm an adult virgin.
Man, that will never ever get old.
More productive with technology, with AI. If you think about Gulf War Gulf War II, sorry. Gulf War II, we did about 1,000 targets. It was 6 months of planning for roughly 50 to 100 people. And in this conflict, you're looking at that equivalent of work for twice as many targets was done by 1 person in 2 weeks.
And instead of having 8 or 9 systems for those decision makers to look at every single day, in order for them to make decisions, you then fuse it into a single visualization tool. The single visualization tool allows you to select, deselect different types of data, look at different approaches to data, but more importantly, action from the same system that you're trying to develop your workflows around. Once you have a detection that you want to actually move into a targeting workflow, for example, this is what we do. Left click, right click, left click, magically, it becomes a detection. That detection then gets moved into a workflow. This is standard digitized workflow, but I want to walk you through it quickly. You have different types of targets that are identified on the left there. Every single column produces a different type of decision-making process. Once you have that decision and you're trying to actually action that process, we now move into COA generation, course of action generation, where we are automatically, via a number of factors, trying to identify what the best asset to prosecute a target looks like. Once we've got the different approaches and we select one, we then can move directly into how do we action that target. So we've gone from identifying the target to now coming up with a course of action to now actioning that target, all from one system. This is revolutionary.
See that? In about less than 30 seconds, it has identified and prepared itself to execute a kill or spare command. Now it's up to the human being to press the button to make it happen. Let's take a quick look at how Project Maven isolates, identifies, and compresses information to understand who to spare and who to kill. Think of it as a digital siphon. It doesn't just read one map. It drains the entire visual feed of the planet, starting from satellite imagery to heat sensors, traffic cameras, and phone pings, and fuses them all into one single, unblinking eye. It scans through the static of a million busy streets, through the dark, through the smoke, just to find that one person, or the one truck, or the one pattern that doesn't belong. It identifies the target while the target is still having their morning coffee. And finally, stage 3, compression. This is the part that changed the game. It kills the human delay. What used to take a team of analysts hours to complete, this machine does in a millisecond. It takes that target, weighs the weapons available, and hands the commander a kill button before the person on the ground even realizes they've been spotted. These ghost servers will continue to feed civilian information into Project Maven until Maven is perfected. And you know something about the US, right? They will do anything to protect their assets.